Hello everybody and welcome back to OMB Reviews. I am the critic who is a cynic. Hope you're doing well, and today I'll be doing another review in my retro review series, this time of Zatoichi on the Road. Before I go any further into that review, please be sure to smash the like button, light up that fire button if you're watching over on Odyssey. It really does mean a lot. Alright, let's go ahead and dive into this film. It has been a while since I have seen it, as I have seen several films since this time and have just fallen behind in my review. I have to do a review for this movie. I have to review also two other films in the Zatoichi franchise that I have seen up to this point. This is a film, though, Zatoichi on the Road, which was shot in 1963, directed here by Kimiyoshi Yasuda, and written by Minoru Inazuka, starring, of course, Shintaro Katsu once again in the main role as the blind swordsman. And this continues the story of Zatoichi, and I kind of like this one a bit as far as its story is concerned, because it does seem to separate itself a little bit from the previous movies that have existed in the franchise, where a lot of them are very much connected. There are characters that are returning back, and there's all these different relationships that one can find between those beginning films. This one, as it really kind of indicates as being on the road, shows that, okay, now he is moving on to a different place, and in this case, it starts off where he is being taken to Doyama because all expenses are being paid. He's being told that he's being brought to this location, all expenses paid, just to meet somebody. No expectations are from him, and so obviously he's enjoying this because he's getting very nice food, he's getting to stay at different places, though of course he is very much a little bit suspicious about whether or not that is truly the motivation of the person who is bringing him. The person bringing him, though, eventually gets killed by the rival of the man that he is on his way to go see. And obviously, we see that there is this battle between trying to basically have control of or influence of Zatoichi. And there's also this dynamic of him meeting someone who is mortally wounded and promising to take care of a woman. And you find out later on that the woman was basically being hunted by this different group because she had tried to defend herself while they were attempting to rape her. And so obviously Zatoichi feels very much indebted, one, to the person to whom he promised on their deathbed essentially that he would take care of her, but also, of course, because Zatoichi has always shown himself very much to be a very caring person, especially towards the various women that have existed in his life. And this film, again, continues on in the lore of Zatoichi of being this amazing swordsman, and now it's him getting actually pulled into this rival gang war, as it were. And it's interesting because he kind of is going in between different sides, playing the game, obviously, because in the end, you see that the character is still continuing to move away from that Yakuza lifestyle, not really wanting to take part in it anymore, and realizing just how difficult it is to be a good person and also to still be a member of the Yakuza. And so I really do like that overall dynamic that is played in this film. And again, just like with all the previous movies, you have really solid direction, solid writing, solid cinematography. Though what I will say is that I feel that since the first movie that was shot in film, which was the third film in the franchise, I really do feel like the overall film quality, I don't know, maybe if it's just the transfers that were done by Criterion, or if it's because of the use of the color stock being relatively new in comparison to black and white, I don't know, it just doesn't really feel as vibrant as it was, especially in those first couple of movies. I really do think, and I've mentioned this before, that the Zatoichi franchise, I think, could have probably benefited from being shot almost exclusively in black and white for at least the vast majority of its run. And obviously, color was very much a part of, of this era. And, you had a lot of companies that were embracing color filmmaking, and you were able to do a lot, especially with the ability to, stress certain colors and be able to have certain backgrounds of a certain color and things like that. So I totally understand that they would use it, but I really do feel like the black and white does really fit the blind swordsman character and the blind swordsman, I guess you could say, aura, as it were. I really do think that just the vibrancy and the dynamic range that you can really get within the black and white film stock really did benefit a lot as far as the first couple films in the franchise. And so other than just kind of feeling, and it's gotten every film that's gone on, it's almost feeling like as if the film quality isn't nearly as strong as it was when it first started off. And part of that might also be the fact that they've making all of these movies so close together. If you actually look to the Zatōichi franchise, you see that you had the 2 films made in 1962. Again, obviously, I thought that those were probably the strongest. You had the New Tale of Zatōichi, the first film to be in color. So this Zatōichi on the Road is the 3rd film to be featured in this franchise on as far as being shot in color. But all these films are shot so close together. I mean, they did 4 of them in 1964. They did 3 of them in 1963, 2 of them in 1962. So they're doing them so close together. I'm wondering if the quick turnaround, luckily it doesn't really fall too much into story, though I think I'll definitely have something to say about that when we get to the Chest of Gold narrative. But I think that in the end, the fact that the story is not what is suffering the most is actually very I think worth mentioning and worth commending them for. But I do feel like potentially the color grading or the way in which the film was being used, maybe having limited takes because of being on a certain time. I don't know what it is, but there's just something about the look and feel of it where it just doesn't feel as top-notch as the other ones do. As far as actual legitimate specific issues with this movie, though, I would definitely say it's the ending of the film that kind of bothers me, because essentially you have it where Zatōichi gets caught, where there's these people he's fighting. He's basically fighting all sides because he doesn't really take a side. He's kind of his own person in this way. So by the end of this battle, he's just fighting off whoever. And what they do is they come up around him and they push a bunch of carts and trap him in this way, and they try and attack him. And of course, he is still able to fend and fight them off. The issue is that right before this, he had given money to a couple of the women who he said he would meet up on the road. And it's very much indicated at that moment that he probably has no real intention of doing that. But when the moment happens when he is trapped and he's fighting off these people, it cuts immediately then, or almost immediately, to the women on the road who's waiting for him and kind of realizing at that moment that he's not coming for them. But then when it cuts back to Zatōichi, he's then on a different road walking away. And then that's how the movie ends. And these films being as short as they are, it just really kind of felt very abrupt. And it's one of the first times in these films, and in this specific film series especially, where the ending really does feel abrupt. Because oftentimes I would be, looking at this movie in parts because I'm taking care of baby Thor and all these other things. And so typically I would get to points where I'd have maybe 10 minutes left in the movie and I'd be like, oh, I don't know how they're going to resolve this story. Hopefully it's not rushed. And it never did feel rushed. But this is the first time where it really does feel like it is rushed in this way. And so as you can see, even when it's describing the overall plot in this way, it says here, as they leave, he calls them back and almost returns her handkerchief she dropped before she sent away for the first time, but he changes his mind. He then kills Jingoro and any man who approaches, and so they kind of leave out here in the plot about how they are able to trap him in this way, and he's still, again, killing anyone who he wants. But as you can see, it then goes off the fact that Ichi is seen walking alone again, and there is just this really, again, random thing where they cut to them, they cut to the women, they cut back to him, and I feel like there's just a part of the story there that's missing about how he got out of it. I'm assuming that some would say that it's to be left up to the imagination, but just visually, it did leave a little bit to be desired for that very reason. However, I'm still very much enjoying the Zatōichi franchise, especially a lot more than the Lone Wolf and Cub series of films, because those are just not my taste, not my style. These very much are a lot more, because even though there is a level of campiness to some of the stories, some stories are more serious than others, I do just appreciate the martial arts aspect, the story aspect, how there is this consistency in quality as far as the storytelling is concerned. And really, it hasn't been up until this point that I've had any really major issues with any of the storytelling elements here with the very end of the movie. And I feel like it definitely bleeds into the next film in the franchise, which I will review at some point, probably today or tomorrow, which to me is kind of the worst of the bunch. But this film, still very good. I'm going to give this movie a solid B+. Again, I think it's still a great film in the franchise and still very much enjoying it. Again, now about 7 films deep into the franchise and still ready to watch a little bit more. Might take a little break, though, because there's some movies that have been sent to me by subscribers that I want to be able to actually watch. And so I'm trying to basically force myself to take a break maybe in the Japanese cinema game. But we'll see how that goes overall. But yeah, solid B+ for this film. Have you ever seen Zatōichi on the Road? And do you feel the same way that I do about the ending, where it just seems seems to happen very abruptly, where he's trapped and still fighting, and then it cuts to the women, and then he cuts back to him on the road, and they don't really show the end of the fight in any clear way or any transition of him going from the fight to the road, which I think could have probably benefited the story. But let me know in the comment section below, especially that pinned comment, as that is the one that I'm able to probably be able to keep the most track of and respond to. But anyway, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. If you like this video, smash that like button, light up that fire button. It really does mean a lot. You guys are amazing, beautiful people. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel either over here on YouTube or on Odyssey, whichever platform you are watching on. And also, let me know if you are enjoying these retro reviews. And as I said, you can watch a lot of these over on the Criterion channel, which I'm still in the free trial period of because it's a 2-week trial, and I'm very much enjoying it so far. But anyway, you guys are all amazing and beautiful people. Hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. And as always, God bless. And now for a huge shout out to all of my June Patreon and Subscribestar members: Andrew Hoyle, Biffer the Hobbit, Brian P., Dion, Don Bruno de la Mancha, Enrique Evangelista, Father Christopher Miller, hail to you, Father, Father Damian Cook, Garrett Searles, Inflamed Wood, It's a Trap Productions, Jason Clark, Jacob Juice, Jeffrey Toone, Jonathan Carney, Laura the Modern Major General's Story, Mike Jackson, Mad Mitch Dunaway, Mr. Peabody and his evil twin with the beautiful hair, On to June, Orange Hat Reviews, Out of Step with Reality, Priscilla Hall, Riff Magos, Rosetta Allen, Teresa Martin, Theodore Bendon, and rather Teresa Martin is Miss Martin Muses now, Tina Bojan, Tina B., and Washington Madranda. Thank y'all very much for being my supporters on Patreon. And to my Subscribestar peeps, Fast Reaction, Nosferatu Gatsu, Stand For, John B., Perpetual Punster, Mr. Roy, Glinzer, J. Alex McCarthy Jr., Dean Heiss / The New Number 2, J. Rod the Beer Guru, Nevanon G. Adams, and ZK Man. Thank you all very much for being my Subscribestar members. And if you want your name shouted out at the end of every video and live stream, please consider joining on Patreon or Subscribestar. You also get access at other tiers to things like a bi-monthly podcast, bi-weekly, twice a month podcast that I do with John the Flick Pick Flickinger, which is a lot of fun. There's also a tier in which you can join me once a month for the Chosen of Valhalla live stream, where you all get to, at that level, join me for discussions, talk about any projects that you might be working on, or just hang out and have a good time. It's a lot of fun. And also, too, for many of those levels, you also get access to a giveaway section on the Discord server, where you get access to giveaways of things like 4K movies, digital codes, and tons of other stuff like that. So if any of that sounds interesting to you, check out the links in the description and sign up over on Patreon and Subscribestar. You guys are all amazing and beautiful people. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and as always, God bless.